What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? It is your host Ghost here, and you are watching the Tough Shit Podcast, the only podcast where we speak our mind. And if you don't like it, well,
Tough shit.
I'm joined today with, I'm your host Ghost, and I'm joined today with.
Nike.
Especially.
Thank you for watching, guys. Now let's hop right into the topics. Today we don't really have a main topic, as usual. You should know this by now. If you hop into this show thinking we have a main topic, well, that's what you get for thinking. So, our topic today, for the most part, is just things that grind our gears, things that drive us nuts, things that we wish we could say to people, but we don't because it would be considered rude. So, this is our platform to get it off our chest and tell these people how we really feel. Don't go too crazy, but I'll hand it off to one of you guys first. You guys can fight over who wants it.
Go ahead, man.
Oh, you were okay. What really the media grinds my gears.
All right.
Just the whole thing, the things they push. I guess we're gonna go right into it. The
Yeah.
whole Black Lives Matters and cops and the NFL players kneeling and all that. You know what? I don't give a fuck about any of it.
Yeah.
I live in my own world. I worry about my own. I'm married. I have 3 kids. And these people there's people that get on me. They're like, how can you still watch football? Like, how you can watch the NFL? They'd be kneeling and shit. It's disrespectful. Right. Okay, no, they're not disrespecting me.
Yeah, you're I watch it for the football.
Yeah, plus, in their views and their beliefs, they're just different from mine. But I'm not going to get mad or take it personal and all that. If they want to... Here's my thing. For those people a lot of them that complain. So you're telling me when you sit at home, do you stand up and take your hat off if you're wearing it for the national anthem?
No.
No.
Right.
No. Usually someone's walking to the kitchen to grab something to eat or get a drink, or they're talking and all that while the national anthem's going on.
Yep.
So don't be getting on me all about that whole disrespectful bullshit. That shit, it does. It grinds the fuck out of my gears because I'm like, they're all hypocrites and all that.
Yep.
And then the whole thing's with Black Lives Matter. I'm with that. And I understand, and I'm against the people that say all lives matter. Mm-hmm. I get both sides. I know. There's the one people out there saying that all lives matter, and people are like, oh, they're racist. And I'm like, okay. And then there are people like, oh, the Black Lives Matter, and they're racist. And I'm like, no. I get it. I can see where, people of color are being held down or whatever. But then on the other... Yeah, but then the other part is, some of the things they talk about. I've heard some people oh, you don't know what it's like to be driving late at night or whatever, and you get pulled over. Yes, fuck I do. Because here's my best example of it. I was working for our county, our sheriff's department. I was a correctional officer. But we're not allowed to wear our uniforms home because we had dick and shit officers that were going to, McDonald's and shit and getting,
discounts.
Discounts and all. And I understand that. They're pieces of shit. They gave us other officers a bad name.
Yeah.
But then on the other point of it is I was driving home. I got off at midnight. So it's 1 in the morning because we'd stand outside and shoot the shit and talk about the day and all that. Well, I was driving home. And I got pulled over by a city cop. So they didn't know who I was. They pulled me over and the dude starts interrogating me. He's like, you coming out? And his first questions were pretty subtle, and he was like, well, what you doing out so late? And the moment it all changed was he's like, so what are you doing out here? And I was like, oh, I'm coming home from work. And he goes, coming home from work? I lied to him. I was up to something no good. He goes, really? And at this point, I still didn't say anything, because I know there's some people out there why didn't you just tell me you're an officer? I shouldn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you still told me, because when he first pulled me over and he came up, dude, I already had my keys pulled out of the ignition and I had them sitting on my dash. And then I had, my hands firmly on the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been training all that. I know to him when he's coming out here, the officer has all the unknowns.
Right.
When he's coming up to a stop, he doesn't know. But now this dude had to be an asshole about it. Because I'm sitting there and all of a sudden he's like, oh, so you've been through this before. And then he was like, and he was like, well, you know how you're coming out, and I just wanted to know, why you're being... And then I asked him, I was like, why did you even pull me over? And he's like, whoa. He's like, you don't... He's like, you have to raise your voice. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't raise my voice. I was just asking what you pulled me over for. I can ask you that question.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, well, your license plate light's out. And I'm like, what the fuck is the license plate light? And he's like, yeah, your light's out and your license plate. You know I could give you a ticket for that, right? And I was like, no, I didn't. And I didn't know it was out because I'm sorry, when I'm driving my car, I don't fucking
Look at the license plate light. Yeah.
like I'm ready to go home. And then after
Yeah.
all this, he ends up asking for my license registration, and I did. And the thing is, I pulled my wallet out, and he has this flashlight shining down on my hands, and I go to pull it out, and then there's my county ID, and he goes, "Work for the county." And I was like, yeah. And he goes, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a correctional officer at the jail. And he goes, oh. And then his whole demeanor changed.
Of course it did. Yeah.
Like, he wasn't being like a super dick, but he was being douches.
Now hold on. That goes perfectly into the what grinds my gears. All right. I hate it when a cop, like you just said, changes his demeanor based on who he knows and who his connections is, and he like this cop assumed you were doing something wrong until he knew that you worked for the county. Then it was all gravy.
Yeah,
That grinds my gears. That drives me nuts when another cop, let's say another cop's off duty and he's speeding, and if that cop pulls him over, you think he's gonna give him a hard time like he gave you? No, he's gonna be like, "Oh, bro, you're good. Have a good night." That makes me mad. That's wrong. That shouldn't be happening.
Oh, we see now. There was also a couple times when I was working the jail, and we, as an officer, we work all the areas, and we work booking/intake, which is when new people get brought in off the streets.
Right.
And there was one day I was working releases. I'm going about my day or my night. I'm doing my releases, and then all of a sudden my sergeant comes back, and they're like, "Hey," and they hand me this release, and they're like, "We need you to push this through like now." And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, they basically had everything done. I just had to run a few
Sign
things.
it. Yeah,
And then we had these things called 1029s, which they're warrant checks.
Okay.
And they check all over the country if you have warrants. And I'm sitting there, and then this dude comes back there, and he was literally, like, he was brought in, like, 15, 20 minutes ago. Like,
Right.
in the actual intake. So, like, while his intake was being finished, they were already starting on his release stuff. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Because I didn't know. And this dude just sitting back there and all that, and he was OWI, he was operating while intoxicated. He was drunk.
Yeah.
And yes, he was over the legal limit. And that was one thing, like, if you're over the legal limit, even if you're not over the legal limit, you get brought in on that, we detox.
Right.
Keep you we had a whole chart. We're saying if they blew like point, 0.09, we would keep them for like 2 hours, and then you can release them. No, this dude got pushed all the way through because he was a cop.
Yep, exactly.
For another department. I never knew what department, but I knew it was one of our local agencies. And he knew the people, and they pushed him right through. And I was like, and the thing is he made dudes that already had in there waiting. Like, I was getting ready to knock out a few, and they had me make them wait so I can get this dude out. And I was like, what? Who the fuck?
So
is
that
this?
makes me raise the question: what is the difference between being in a gang and having benefits, and being in a police precinct and being the same exact thing? You're protected by guns. You got men you can call to do anything you want when you need them, and there's no precautions legally at all for anything. What's the difference?
There is a difference if you're a good officer. I mean, there should be accountability. And sadly, when you have 12 shitty officers in one department, they'll typically get on the same shift. And they'll do all the same shady shit together. And puts a bad name on the thousands of other good officers out there.
The tension it causes when you have a shit officer is unreal. And the thing is they're actually not far in between, but there's fewer douche fuckers than there is good ones. I was one of those good guys. I can honestly say it, because I always, like, when I was walking through and do my things, I was like, as long as you guys are doing what you're supposed to and not doing anything you're not supposed to do, or bugging me or anything, I will leave you alone, because you're already in jail. It's already a hard time.
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and put pressure on you and make it harder. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here just to make sure you don't run off or whatever, and you do what you're supposed to. And a lot of dudes knew that. They're like, all right, dude, officer, Officer McGuire's coming through, we're good. As long as we're not pissing him off, he ain't gonna fuck with us, and that's how it was.
Well, you know what another problem is that a lot of them have ego problems where they're like let's say you say "F you pig" or something, they're like, "What'd you say?" And then they got to get hands on because it's an ego problem and not a crime thing. You know what I mean? Because then it's I'm a police officer and I'm gonna take you down.
Oh no!
Then it
See
becomes
now,
that.
well, the ego thing, I'm with you on that. But the thing is I did. There was on hand a couple times where I lost my cool, but it didn't warrant enough like where I could be a scandal or get fired or anything. It was just I said some things I shouldn't have said.
Right.
But you have no idea what these men can say.
Yeah.
You want to talk about like there's people out there that literally have no filters. They will go to places that I didn't even know existed on how. And the one I was sitting through is I was an FT, I was a field training officer, and I was training a new officer who's been assigned to me. We were sitting in medical, and there was a dude in our ISO medical. He had some serious issues, but everyone knew him. He knew me as Peter Griffin. That's what he called me. And it was one of those things where I was just like, he would come up and he'd talk to me. He'd be like, "Hey, yo, Griffin." I'd be like, "What you want?" And I just, I never took it to heart. But now there was one night, dude, he hit his box, and he'd push me, like, he had me up there, because I was just like, I was so done talking to him. So I pushed his box, dude, and he went on this rant about what, like, the things, he didn't go after me. He said and the dude doesn't know I have a family, but the way he attacked my family verbally, I was like, it was just those moments where they just, And the thing is it was my my trainer, my probation officer was sitting there, my PO. He was sitting there, and he was just like, "How can you be so calm?" Because he's sitting there, he's getting mad, because he's nonstop. He's just lighting into me, and he's not taking a breath. And there's people out there. I know you could just walk it off. Okay.
Yeah.
You have a man for like an hour straight just talk shit to you. I mean, talk shit. I'm not like we play games and we talk about fuck your mother and all that. We're joking around. But like this dude, like the things he said he would do to my kids.
Right.
Okay. And the thing is I just looked over my officer, like even though like deep down I was getting mad, but I was sitting there and I looked at him, I was like, because this box is recorded, so I have this whole conversation recorded. And then what am I doing? I'm writing, and I'm writing this dude up.
Yeah.
And then this is the thing is like, you want to go that far? That's fine. That's cool. I will get even. And then we had a new implement where you could do write-ups, and then we could take good time. I attack that all the time. I was like, if you're going to attack me personally or make my life a living hell, I'm coming right back at you. And the thing is I would do it legally.
That's what I'm saying. There is legal options where you can take things away or make it worse for them without having to beat their brains in or break their arms.
Like what we'd always told people, it was always a respect thing. It really is. Like when I first got hired in, dude, I got treated like shit. And all the officers, the officers treat you like shit. I mean, it's a lot of hazing because it's a high turnover rate, but it's a lot of hazing. But then the inmates, they really go at you because they're testing you. They want to see what they can get away with.
Right.
And when I got hired in, I was 18. I was, I think 10 months removed from high school. Now I'm getting thrown in with these grown ass men. So I had to grow quickly, but you had to grow a thick skin. Like if you go by and this dude says he's gonna fuck your baby mama, you can't think twice about it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you still go home. They stay here.
They're stuck. Yeah.
But and then there's like dudes that would we had dudes that had bad days. Like dudes that there's one guy, and I knew it, and I was working the lobby, where we had video visitation. We didn't actually have them meet face to face on glass. They would go to video booths. That's how they would do their visits. And this guy came in. He gave us somewhat problems. He gave me a lot of problems in the beginning, but after a while, the respect was there. When I come walking through on the block, he was just like, "We're good, McGuire. It's all good." And I was like, "Yeah." But his family came in, and his sister, she came up and she was like, she's like, McGuire, are you the one he talks about? And I'm like, well, what is he talking
What do you
about?
mean? Yeah, what do you
She's like, well, he says you're more laid back, you're not a pompous ass and all that. I was like, no. And I told her, I was like, no, basically, I leave them alone. I said, as long as they're doing what they're allowed to do and they're not doing anything stupid, bugging me and all that, it's all good.
They're like kids. If they're doing their own thing and quiet, then be quiet.
But she came up and she's like, well, we're just letting you know that during this visit, we're going to let him know that our mom died. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, all right. As soon as she told me that, I was like, hold on. And I called my additional officer and I said, hey, come over here. You're going to run this visit. Don't start this visit until I give you the radio. So then I called my sergeant to let him know. And he came out to relieve me. And then I took 2 officers with me and we went down there. Because I was like, this dude gets this news, this could set him off, and where we would have to go hands on. We had inmates like that. It was just They had triggers, and
mental,
and it could be like how an officer treated him one day, or it could be like someone looked at him the wrong way, dude, and it would trigger, and it's like, oh shit. And so I was in fear because I'm like, oh, this dude might he might flip, and I'm like, I was so I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I think I had the best pour with him on shift, so I'll go down there. Well, I'm getting down there, and all I did was I had the 2 officers, but I had them hidden because we had like this bubble area where you could pull them out of the wards. So I had them hidden because I didn't want him to see them and think something was going on. I didn't want to trigger anything. I'm trying to do this safely as I know. Right. And the thing is, you can do all the training, but you treat everyone different because you can't treat them all the same.
Well, yeah, they all have different quirks and different things that,
But I pulled them out, and I said, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm down here, first of all, for your protection, so you don't hurt anyone. And then he started getting all weird on me. And I was like, no. I was like, listen to me. I was like, have I ever lied to you? Have I ever steered you wrong? Have I ever done anything where I haven't given you your respect? And he goes, no. Right. I was like, then chill out. Let me get this out, because this is some news. And now he's getting worried. I'm like, well, I'm just going to let you know. And in some aspects, I felt bad. But I just wanted to make sure. I was like, hey, just on your visit, it's your family. And they have bad news, but I'm not going to give you that bad news. That's not up to me. I'm not going to be one. So I'm like, but just brace yourself. The thing is he already knew. His mom was already in bad health. And he was putting the pieces together. And he's like, is it about my mom, McGuire? And I was like, I told you, I'm not in the place to tell you anything. I'm just here to let you know, and just so you're not caught off guard. And then he looked at me and he goes, like with tears were starting to roll down his face, he goes, McGuire, as long as I'm here, he goes, I will never, ever give you issues ever again. He goes, you came down here with like a man, and he goes, I appreciate that. So then I watched him walk into his booth, pick up that phone call, and then all I know is tears were falling out. And then at that immediate moment, there was some inmate on the top. He said something about being a pussy. And immediately I was like, get the fuck down here. Like, you pissed me off. And it was a young kid, like a 19, 20-year-old, trying to fucking show off. And he comes out there and he's all like, man, what's up, McGuire? And I was like, you need to shut your fucking mouth. I was like, he's going through some shit. I was like, that was a bullshit-ass move. I don't give a fuck where we're at. I was like, you say some stupid shit like that again. I was like, I won't even have to do anything. I was like, because I'm pretty sure there's some motherfuckers in here that'll jump you.
Right.
And he was just like, what the like trying to figure out. And it's like, when you're on the front lines, it's different. The rules are completely different. Okay? There's some rules you got to bend, and you don't ever break the rules. Clarify, don't ever break them. But there's some rules you kind of bend. You know your way around. Like the way I was talking to this dude, I'd have to get fired on the spot. But it's one of those moments where it completely changed. It's like, all right, it's not officer to inmate, it's fucking man to man. Like, you need to
person to person, yeah.
Because, dude, if I leave, I don't know what he'll do to you.
Yeah.
And depending on how far you go, is going to be dependent on how long I let him go at you.
Right.
And this dude was just like, oh, and I was like, you need to learn. And like I said, it was that whole respect thing.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, now there's times I've gone in and some dudes have said some shit to me, like they caught me on a bad day. Like they were just like, it seemed like everyone I was talking to was just being an asshole, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I walked in the one ward, and some dude was like, oh, there was McGuire, that fat ass bitch. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was done. I got on the radio. I was like, kill the TV in the ward. And they killed it. And then everyone turns around because it was the NBA Finals. There's some things you don't mess with. But it's the NBA Finals, and I didn't give a fuck. And all of a sudden, like, all these dudes stood up. They're like, McGuire, what the fuck? And I was like, y'all need to learn some goddamn respect in this motherfucker. I was like, I've been here too long. I've already taken my legs. I ain't taking shit like that. I was like, I'll turn it back on when I want to fucking turn it on. And I left. And then it was like 10 minutes later. I was like, they called my C number and I answered. I was like, go ahead. They're like, the ward from so-and-so, they would like to talk to you for a minute. And I was like, all right, let them know I'll be down there in a couple minutes. I'm trying to compose myself. And I get down there. This dude that said it, he was an 18-year-old kid, and he was in there on like some minor theft charges. Like nothing big. But he was one of those cocky, arrogant bastards. And he came up and he was like, I'm sorry, McGuire. And I was like, dude, it's all good. I was like, it's just, you gotta be wary. Like, when you see me walk around, okay, I'm not one of those dudes you want to just fucking jab and poke an eye. I was like, because I've been here too long. I know where I'm at. But the thing is when he turned, he had a big ass black eye, and I was like, there, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh shit. And then he was like, what? I was like, never mind, you're good, go ahead. And he goes, what? I was like, I'm not even gonna ask you because you're not gonna give me the answer. And he goes, what? I was like, well, I'm gonna ask you what happened to your face, and you're gonna tell me either you slipped and fell and hit this table, you slipped in the shower, you fell off your bunk, a fucking book came out of left field and hit you in the face. I was like, but you're not gonna tell me who or who and where. And he goes, yeah. I was like, hints, I've been here too long. I know how this goes. But then we knew who the ward bosses were. Like there's those one or two inmates that run that ward. He comes down because I call him. I'm like, and he's like in his late 30s, mid 40s. He's a black guy, but he's built like he's done some serious time. But he's one of those dudes like. He's been around the game for so long. He's just like he just does his time. He's not in there trying to impress or do anything. But I call him down and I'm like, so be real with me. Was you the one that punched him in the face? And he's like, no, McGuire. I was like, no. I need to know because in case I do get asked, I don't want there to be some goddamn conspiracy theory that I'm calling hits out on inmates for you guys. And they're like, no, McGuire, it's not like that. I was like, I know it's not like that. He goes, it's just respecting it. I know. I was like, did you state him? He goes, well, yeah, McGuire. He goes, we fucking walked through the cell. And he goes, I cold clocked him. I was like, you need to watch who you talk to. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And he goes, so am I going to the hole? I was like, no, you're not going to the hole. I'm not writing you up. I'm just having this on my case for my benefit, so I know. And he's like, all right. I was like, hey, don't be talking about it. He goes, McGuire. He's like, you know how long I've been locked up? I was like, okay, that was a stupid question. Probably shouldn't have said anything like that. But it's just one of those things. We just, like if it goes, like the higher it goes up, the worse it looks. But it's just one of those moments where it stayed there. Right. And there was no harm, no foul, because from now on, that dude always greeted me as, how's he doing, Mr. McGuire? And I was like, it's Officer McGuire, dude. You don't have to call me Mr. I'm not your teacher. I'm not one of those dudes on a power trip and all that. Right. But I mean, there's officers out there that oh my God, they have power trips and it's ridiculous. I'm like,
dude, it's horrible. Specialist, you got any pet peeves you want to get off your chest real quick?
I did, but then I got into Nike stories.
Sorry.
Because I've been there, not as long as he has, but I was there. I know on both sides of the bars. But I'd say my pet peeve would have to be all the fucking, like, I guess I'm going to go back to what we went last week. Fucking publicity ads, like, for Biden healthcare and all that shit, dude. Every fucking time I go to, like, play a video game, not a video game, but a fucking phone game, there's, like, a fucking ad after every turn I get. It's not like, oh, hey, I'm just going to fucking play this. Like,
but it is an election year, though, so.
I don't give a fuck. If I wanted to give a shit about who the fuck was running, look it up. I
I like how we went something from like so dark with the inmates and stuff to straight. You know what? I fucking hate ads while I'm playing games and shit.
Well, no. I mean, for real though, like that shit eats at me. I don't give a fuck about that cracked out old fuck running for president. He's a piece of shit. They all are.
This is what drives me nuts. Is we talked about this last week as well, or 2 weeks ago. Me and Specials did. It's just dumb people. Like how stupid people are in this world. Like literally beyond dumb. Like people can sit there and watch CNN and believe every word they say and not see any bias whatsoever. And then they're going to talk crap about Fox News like, "Oh, but someone watches Fox News." And I'm like, first off, they both have their own political bias on separate ends. Neither of them are clean. They both have their own reasons for what they say and what they do. And people don't get that. They're like, "Well, why would this news supporter not support both sides?" Well, because they have elections, they get people in that help them get things passed that they want for their companies. It's about money. It comes down to money.
Politics, that's all about money. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Politics.
That's all
money.
it comes down to. But that was our pet peeves, guys. Thank you so much for sitting with us throughout all that. You got to learn a lot about Nike's backstory there, actually, like about his job and everything.
Let's say you said it's just pet peeve because I lived it. Okay, I know what it's like. I said, no, I wasn't on the other side of the bars, but okay, but I was a troublesome kid growing up. You know, I got into a lot of bullshit,
Right.
trouble, like, some shit that could have got me, you know, put behind the other bars, but luckily I was underage.
Right.
But and then some like just people on both sides of it, they make me mad because some of them just talk about it and they're like, oh yeah, and then you look at their backstory or whatever, and they have like no evidence or actually anything really. They just lived like a
Yeah, well, well, here's a good example. I understand that, unfortunately, this is true. There is oppression in black people in America, but where I'm at, we don't see that. Okay, in Indiana, like Elkhart, Indiana, I don't see that crap. I'm sorry, I don't see people getting oppressed. I don't see people getting abused and all that. And then you got these people that'll come up to you and be like, "Oh, it happens all the time." And they're like, "I know so and so and this and that." And you're like, "Dude, you work at freaking CVS 9 to 5. You go home. You don't go anywhere. You don't know anyone who's black. What are you talking about?" That's what I'm talking about. That's what drives me nuts. It's like I know people that are black. I have close friends that are black. And I understand. I know people. It sucks. I get it. They get made fun of because they're black. They go through it. I understand. I get made fun of because I'm white. Not all the time, but it happens sometimes. I don't complain. I don't whine. But I get it. I understand where they're coming from. But what I'm saying is we don't see that stuff. It's not.
Well, the thing is the oppression goes all the way around to all the races.
Yeah.
Like to all of them. Like, because I've seen people when they make fun of the Asians.
Yeah.
My wife is Filipino. She's Asian. Someone called her a slanted eye. Fucking what was that word they use in Vietnam? What was it? A nip?
Gook.
No, it was like a nip or something like that. But they're like a slant it was like one of the words they use for like the jab. A jip. There we go. They're like a slant eye jip, and I was like, what the fuck? And they were like looking at me, and I was like, my wife's fucking Filipino, you asshole. And they're like, oh, it's your wife. I'm like, yeah, fucker, I should punch you in your fucking face for saying something stupid like.
Yeah, but that's how it is. And that's the thing is, it's like, it's not intentional racism. If someone's being racist, it's usually because they're stupid and they don't realize that they're being an idiot. You get what I'm saying? And people are like, "Oh, they're."
That's how they were brought up. And
yeah.
And I mean, there are genuinely evil people out there. My wife is black, for God's sakes.
Yes, yes. Especially those too.
We can go somewhere and people look at us and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and it's just like, oh,
okay.
like that's when you really look at it. And the thing is I've seen it out of white people, I've seen it out of black people, I've seen it out of Mexican people, I've even seen it from Asian people. They look at us and I'm like,
yeah,
don't fucking look over here. If you don't like it, look the fucking other direction. You keep looking, I'll fucking rip my pants out with my dick out. Like, it just, dude, that shit right there pisses me off too. I'm like, motherfuckers.
All right, guys. Well, that's officially it. That's officially it. We're done. All right, that's officially everything before we get heated again. That is all the stuff that drives us nuts, guys. If you realize anything that we've said and you're doing it, please stop. Please try to change for the better. At least try for the whole world, if not just for us.
Being a moose, okay? All right. It's America. We can do whatever the hell we want.
And the thing is, I know if people after they watch this, they'll put comments down there and they'll be offended and shit. And you know what? Guess what? Like the pod said, tough shit. You don't give a fuck.
Tough shit, guys. You don't like it, tough shit.
God,
That's our saying. That's how we're always gonna roll.
You can
bunch of big pussies out there now.
you can shut it off if you don't like it. If it pisses you off to sit here and listen to us talk, maybe not the podcast for you.
Yeah, if not, go check out Smash Soapbox over on Dorkston if this isn't the podcast for you.
Dude, I think this is legitimately the first tough shit, where it's like, yeah, tough shit if you don't want to watch.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. Episode 1, we got pretty crazy talking about things. But this is the one where we're back to it. But yes, tough shit, guys. You don't like what you have to say, tough shit. Like, subscribe, and share. Keep it right here on Laugh Your Brains Out. Every Friday, we have a new podcast on Tough Shit Podcast every Friday. I've been your host, Ghost, joined with
Nike.
And the specialist.
And until next time, guys, adios.
Emphasize the on that. Thank you.
There's only one.